learn about your word and read your word. We ask that today that you would teach us, that we would go from here and become just a little more focused on our walk with you, and that the fellowship that we have today would be something that boosts us up for the rest of the week, Lord. In your name I pray. Amen. All right, this is the only name. the left here, the announcements. We have the coffee under the bridge at 6:30 p.m. Banner Brothers heading that up. Welcome to anybody. Contact Alan if you want to go. This week's movie is going to be The Shack, and that's on the 15th at 7 p.m. We all have noticed the prayer board in the foyer there. Got a prayer, post it up, or pray for those that need it. They're enrolling for the school at Livingston Academy. Last one there, Matt Jones, new principal from Georgia, will be on campus at Livingston on August 1st. If you want to make an appointment to meet with him. The regular stuff going on this upcoming week, and we'll go ahead and go into our offering. I am going to get to that. Thanks, Debbie. There's a couple other things. We are going to do the second reading for Jasmine. She is living in out in Edmond, and she needs to go to church. So I think we're gonna let her transfer. Do we need to vote on that? Okay. Thanks, Debbie. Debbie moves. Do we have a second? Okay. All of those in favor say, bless you, Jasmine. Bless you, Jasmine. All right. And Debbie mentioned that on July 22nd is it's 2 Sabbaths from now. It's gonna be the camp meeting, and so a lot of the congregation that is usually here might be up at the camp meeting. We're not gonna have Sabbath school or the quarterly meeting. We're just gonna go straight into our normal service at 3 p.m. And the pantry is open, and there's gonna be a bread table downstairs by the back door. Right? Okay, every week is a bread table. All right, this week's offering is Women's Ministries. Cool, NID. So let's go ahead and lift that up in prayer. Lord, we come before you now, and we're so thankful for what you've blessed us with. And right now, we specifically pray for the women's ministry, and that you would bless that. We want to ask now that if there's anybody in this church here that has any type of illness or ailment, I lift those up to you now, Lord, and ask that you would perform miracles. And we know that it's just so easy for you to do it, but we need to ask you, Lord. And so we're doing that now, and we ask that you would heal those that need healing. We ask those that are suffering from even mental or problems that you would be there with them, Lord. We ask for those that are in need, just with basic things in life, Lord, that you would supply those needs, that you would blow their minds with the amount of grace that you have given to them, and that all of their needs would be fulfilled, Lord. So we lift those up to you and ask that you would multiply our tithe to you, Lord. In your name I pray. Amen. This is a glorious day. you want to come back? I need you guys to get your baskets and collect some offering, so we can do that first. We got a couple of kids. We got one kid, kind of a weenie kid. So go ahead and grab your baskets, and we're going to collect the offering for the Bridge of Hope. Thanks, Seth. All right. Kids, have you guys been to Riverfront Park, the carousel? Have you ever ridden the carousel there? Where they have these little carousel where you can ride horses, wooden horses around a carousel. It's kind of cool. You can get popcorn. Nice. But right there at Carousel Park, there's a big river. Does anybody know the name of the river that runs through the park? Dee River? That's a great guess. Do you know the Dee River is the shortest river in Oregon? Wow. Do you guys live close to there? Yeah, cool. Well, this is probably one of the biggest. It's a big river in Oregon, one of the biggest. Anybody know it? River? Yeah? Willamette. Great. Yep, it's the Willamette River. And there, down, if you go down to the dock, there's this ship down there called the Stern Wheeler. And it's anchored on the dock there. And today, I was doing a little kind of planning for this race that I'm going to do, and we needed to start swimming in the river. So this morning, me and my friend, we worked together, and there was also another guy there that was in a kayak, and he had this really bright orange kayak, and I had my wetsuit on, and I had a orange buoy that was floating behind me, and I had a bright orange cap on, and we had the kayak that was following us, and we swam around the little slough area there that's by the ship, and then we swam upriver along the shore, and then we swam across the river over to the west side of Salem. And do you think it was hard or easy to swim up the river, up against the current? Yeah, it was hard. So the river was moving at a certain speed, and I was just moving a little bit faster, so I was able to go upriver a little bit faster. And you guys know what happened when I stopped swimming? Yeah, I went backwards. That's right. So I was always trying really hard to not stop, and even when I got a little bit tired, I kept on going. And then when we got to where we were supposed to go for the race, we went across to the other side of the river. And it was so much fun because I didn't have to swim hardly at all. I could just pretty much float, and I went all the way over to the other side. And what I wanted to share with you is that sometimes in our life, God puts things in our way. And if we aren't moving forward, then we might have some problems with the things that, actually, God doesn't put things in our life. It's this earth and Satan that puts things in our life. And God keeps us on track. So, want to play the drums? Well, maybe if you ask Seth afterwards, maybe he'll allow you drum a little bit. But I just want to encourage you guys to always try and move forward, because if you have some problems, then there's a good chance that the current is going to take you back, and that's not a good thing because you might end up somewhere that you don't want to go. Right? Thank you guys for listening. You guys can go back to your seats. Habakkuk, chapter 1, verse 12. This is Habakkuk's second complaint. So you remember his first complaint. He was saying he needed some help. Why aren't you listening? There's violence, and why don't you save? And then the Lord answered him and told him about what the Babylonians or the Chaldeans were going to do, and it sounded pretty bad. And here, I don't know if that's really much of an answer, but it was God just telling him exactly what's going to happen. And sometimes knowing what's going to happen is just a clear enough answer for us. Let's go ahead and read chapter 1, verses 12 to 17. Lord, are you not everlasting? My God, my Holy One, you will never die. You, Lord, have appointed them to execute judgment. You, my rock, have ordained them to punish. Your eyes are too pure to look on evil. You cannot tolerate wrongdoing. Why then do you tolerate the treacherous? Why are you silent while the wicked swallow up those more righteous than themselves? You have made people like the fish in the sea, like the sea creatures that have no ruler. The wicked foe pulls all of them up with hooks. He catches them in his net. He gathers them in his dragnet. And so he rejoices and is glad. Therefore he sacrifices to his net and burns incense to his dragnet. For by his net he lives in luxury and enjoys the choicest food. Is he to keep on emptying his net, destroying nations without mercy? Think about that as we continue to worship. This is no longer slaves. Plug in my guitar. asking God another complaint with God. It says that these people are like sea creatures. With their hooks they catch them in their net, and they gather up in their dragnets. And they rejoice and they're glad. And they sacrifice in their net. They burn incense in the dragnet. And thanks, Don. The choicest food. Is he to keep on emptying his net, destroying nations without mercy? I will stand at my watch and station myself on the ramparts. I will look to see what he will say to me and what answer I am to give to this complaint. The Lord's answer. Chapter 2, verse 2. Then the Lord replied, this is good. Write down the revelation and make it plain on tablets, so that a herald may run with it, for the revelation awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay. This is kind of an answer that we don't like to hear a lot of times, huh? Wait for it. When we ask God, we tell God, things are going so wrong. These people are doing this and these people are doing that. You need to do something. You need to do something now. And God says, write it down, put it in your journal, pray about it, right? And wait. It'll come. It'll certainly come. It won't delay. And God's time is much different than our time. Verse 4. See, the enemy is puffed up. His desires are not upright, but the righteous person will live by his faithfulness. Indeed, wine betrays him. He's arrogant, never at rest. He's greedy as the grave, and like death, never satisfied. He gathers to himself all the nations and takes captive all the people. The righteous, verse 4, it says, but the righteous person will live by his faithfulness. Simple. Have faith. That leads to righteousness. And I was talking to the kids about the current that can take you. And doing the little things, what's important. And then the big things will be taken care of. And the little things that I did was I first knew how to swim. And I put a wetsuit on that was buoyant and kept me warm in the 65-degree water. I had a bright orange cap, so if there's any boaters out there, they would be able to see me. And I had a big orange buoy hanging from my back. And I also took two friends. Little things, they all add up, little things. But if you don't have any of those, or if you stop, the current can take you. God says, be faithful. Do the little things. And the big things will be taken care of. Verse 6. Will not all of them taunt him with ridicule and scorn, saying, these are the woes. I'm going to read the woes. Chapter 2, verse 6. Woe to him who piles up stolen goods and makes himself wealthy by extortion. Verse 9. Woe to him who builds his house by unjust gain. Verse 12. Woe to him who builds a city with bloodshed and establishes a town by injustice. Verse 15. Woe to him who gives drink to his neighbors, pouring it from the wineskin till they are drunk, so that he can gaze on their naked bodies. Verse 19. Woe to him who says to the wood, come to life, or to lifeless stone, wake up. Can it give you guidance? It is covered with gold and silver. There is no breath in it. So let's look at the woes. Verse 6. Woe to him who piles up stolen goods and makes himself wealthy by extortion. Pretty straightforward there. If you blackmail people, if you are not honest with people, if you lead a life that is where people second guess you because they figure if that guy can do this, then I can do it. And, he cheats on his taxes, so I can cheat on my taxes. You're an example all the time. And whether you know it or not, people are looking at you. And so it's little things that add up. And they pile up, and they pile up, and before you know it, you're not the greatest person in the world. So pay attention to the little things. Make your life beyond reproach. Verse 9, woe to him who builds his house by unjust gain. Go ahead and it's in the same vein there. We are not here to have vast amount of wealth. Our wealth comes from a different source, and that's the spiritual wealth. And God's saying, woe to him who builds it on unjust gain, by lying, by cheating. Woe to him who builds a city with bloodshed and establishes a town by injustice. I don't know if any of us have gone so far as to bloodshed, but there are parts of the world where people are getting ahead by beating and torturing of other humans in their town or in their area. And God is saying bloodshed is wrong, pretty plain and simple. Verse 15, woe to him who gives drink to his neighbors, pouring it from the wineskin until they're drunk, so that they can gaze on their naked bodies. And I think this is just an all-around great thing to heed, where if you are with people that have issues with drinking or drugs or anything that, it could be food, anything that tempts them, be accountable in that way to where you're not making them stumble. We don't realize how easy other people can fall from different things that we think that are just normal things in our life. So that's part of just being a friend. Charles Sepier was telling me a story, and it was about him going to another church, and it basically was something happened, and due to the fact that they didn't know him, and they accused him of doing something that, if you know Charles, it's you know he would never do this. It's just not in his being, and it was almost funny. We were kind of laughing that they would accuse him of something. It wasn't anything much, but I mean, just knowing the person that you were with and getting to know that what affects them in their life. We're all affected by different things. Verse 19, woe to him who says to the wood, come to life, or to lifeless stone, wake up. Can it give guidance? It is covered with gold and silver. There is no breath in it. God is talking about idolatry here, but there's kind of like a cool 20th century lesson that we might want to learn from this. We're getting so into artificial intelligence, AI, and putting our lives into the hands of technology. We don't know something, we just Google it, right? Or if we don't, if somebody asks a question, we just break out our phone and look it up. Rather than having a conversation with that person, a discussion about what you do know, you're just quoting something else from the computer that may or may not be correct. And we have it at the touch of our fingers, and God's saying not to have faith in these gadgets, not having faith. I mean, he says it in gold and silver, and we can have gold and silver technology in our hands. All right, let's continue to worship, and then we'll go into really cool chapter 3. This is at the cross. do Revelation song. Mercy Me, and the guys that sing this song, they sing you can only imagine, and their songs kind of sneak up to you. They sneak up on you. They're kind of like, oh, that's a pretty cool song, but you sing it a couple times, and it's really, really powerful. I really like this song, and trying to learn it, and so let's see if we can do this. Habakkuk chapter 3. This is his prayer. Talk to God. Got a couple of complaints with God, and God gives him some pretty good answers, some tough answers, but some real answers. And last chapter of Habakkuk 3 is more of a psalm. And the first verse 2, we're going to sing it. And I put some chords to it. And the song, it's Habakkuk 3:1. Make them known. In wrath, remember mercy. Habakkuk goes from kind of a big complainer, whiner, and just kind of woes me to praise the Lord. He just starts singing, and he writes this really cool poem here, and we're going to go through the verses of the poem, and then he ends with another song, and we're going to sing with the song on verses 17, 18, and 19. So let's go ahead and read the verses of his psalm here. Verse 3, God came from Teman, the Holy One from Mount Paran. His glory covered the heavens, and his praise filled the earth. His splendor was like the sunrise. Rays flashed from his hand where his power was hidden. Plague went before him. Pestilence followed his steps. He stood and shook the earth. He looked and made the nations tremble. The ancient mountains crumbled and the age-old hills collapsed, but he marches on forever. I saw the tents of Cushan in distress, the dwellings of Midian in anguish. Were you angry with the rivers, Lord? Was your wrath against the streams? Did you rage against the sea when you rode your horses and your chariots to victory? You uncovered your bow. You called for many arrows. You split the earth with rivers. The mountains saw you and writhed. Torrents of water swept by. The deep roared and lifted its waves on high. Sun and moon stood still in the heavens at the glint of your flying arrows, at the lightning of your flashing spear. In wrath you strode through the earth, and in anger you threshed the nations. You came out to deliver your people, to save your anointed one. You crushed the leader of the land of wickedness. You stripped him from head to foot. With his own spear, you pierced his head. When his warriors stormed out to scatter us, gloating as though about to devour the wretched who were in hiding. You trampled the sea with the horses churning the great waters. I heard and my heart pounded. My lips quivered at the sound. Decay crept into my bones, and my legs trembled. Yet I will wait patiently for the day of calamity to come on the nations invading us. tree does not bud, and there are no grapes on the vine, though the olive crop fails, and the fields produce no food, though there are no sheep in the pen, and the cattle in the stalls, but I will rejoice in the Lord. I will be joyful in God, my Savior. Sovereign Lord is my strength. He makes my feet like the feet of a deer. He enables me to tread on the heights. This is for the director of music on a string instrument. So we got through Habakkuk. Pretty cool book. And I wasn't really sure how to share that, but I knew Habakkuk was a songwriter, and it just seemed like he was giving his heart to God. He had these really difficult questions, and it was really cool because God answered him. And so we can take solace in knowing that no matter what we ask God, he will give us an answer. Sometimes it's wait, sometimes it's be faithful, sometimes it's here you go. I'm going to thrash your enemies, and you will be awesome. So thank you guys, and let's close in a word of prayer. Lord, we thank you for your word, and that we can learn from every little part of it. There's always something new to learn every day. Every day brings new things. And we pray that today would be a new beginning for us, that this passage would help us sharpen our walks with you, and that we would go forth from here with a new focus on you, Lord. In your name I pray, and all God's people said, amen. Thank you, guys. Elders have a small meeting or meet downstairs.